The gazelle or antelope was a mythological animal in Babylonia, so far as it represented Ea, who is entitled the princely gazelle, and the gazelle that gives the earth. But this animal was also appropriated to the precursor of Enlil and Enki, aka Mul-Lil. Mul means Lord, or starry. The word star is cognate with God. Mul-Lil represents the evil wind of the gods. Mul-Lil, the god of Nippur, who was especially called the gazelle god. The problem being that Mul-Lil holds a secret. When Zu-Sin stole the role of Bel, he became Mul-Lil and his own female self, Mulmi-Sarah, who, like Enki, is the author of the Lamentation Rite, otherwise known as the Book of Hades, meaning the author is actually Lord Zu. Mul-Lil and Mulmi-Sarah become known as Enki and Enlil. This is identical to Shamash dwelling within Ishtar. Ishtar represents the pit, and Shamash divine justice, and they are both the children of Zu. Among other things, Zu means to mirror, and Uz is the goat god. It is likely, therefore, that this animal had been worshipped totemically at Nippur. Many of the early cylinders represent it being offered in sacrifice to a god, and for a time that god is identified with that creature, indicating the god being worshipped. And bas-reliefs and other carvings show it reposing in the arms of various deities, meaning they too worship that god, because Zu-Sin is the god of the gods. The goat too seems to have been particularly sacred, and formed one of the signs of the zodiac, meaning originally belonging to the brood of Tiamat. Zu means to mirror. A god called Uz has for his name the Akkadian word for goat. In Sumerian, An is god, and is cognate with Dingir, but in Assyrian, An Dingir is Ash or Mash. Mash meaning twinned or he-goat, Ash a wish paired with a curse. The word light also means deception, and we are blinded by the light of the gods and their reflective nature. Mr. Hormuzd Rassam found a sculptured stone tablet in the temple of the sun god at Sippara, which was an inscription to Sin, Lord Zu, and his children, Shamash and Ishtar. If we mirror the goat, Mash, and align it with Ash, it is possible that we get Shamash. Zu is the oracle, but also a curse. Zu, the gatekeeper, Ishtar, the pit of destruction, and Shamash, the curse of the renown, or the devoted curse. And the inscription being, they are set as companions at the approach to the deep, in sight of the god Uz. this god, Uz, is depicted, sitting on a throne, watching the revolution of the sun disk, which is placed upon a table and made to revolve by means of a rope or string. He is clad in a robe of a goat skin, no different from the later teraphim stolen by Jacob. Above Shamash, the rope is held by Enlil, formerly Mullil, formerly Zu. The goat cult. The cult of goats appears to be of a very ancient one, and the strange thing is that it appears to have found its way into medieval and even into modern magic and pseudo-religion. I know how. The figure Cernunnos was worshipped in ancient Gaul, and Saint Bede transcribed the Hebrew text into Old English from Norse and in Frankish, so it appears that he is working for the forces coming into Britain. In the same way, the statue of Sin was positioned beyond the borders of Assyria to poison, demonize the land and its people. Cernunnos arrives around 700 AD, 16 years after the Great Plague of Sunderland. And that, my dear friends, is how the goat god made its way into Britain. There is very little doubt that it is the Baphomet of the Knights Templar, and also the Sabbatic goat of the witchcraft of the Middle Ages. Uz is indeed the root for Baphomet. The name Baphomet first appeared in trial transcripts during the Inquisition of the Knights Templar in the early 1300s. Some scholars believe that the name was a corruption of Mahomet, the Prophet Muhammad, probably because Muhammad is also known as Mashu, similar to Moses, both meaning he-goat and twinned, cognate with Ash, Dingir, and An. With Moses, they aren't horns, they are light, but light also means deception. Yeah, we are blinded by the light. In my local legend, the Lambton Worm, a group of Templar knights, went on a crusade to Jerusalem and came back with a relic. And here it seems almost certain that when the Crusaders journeyed to Asia Minor, they came into contact with the remains of the old Babylonian cult. When Philip the Fair of France prosecuted them on the charge of heresy, a great deal of curious evidence was extorted from them, the Knights Templar, regarding the worship of an idol that they kept in their lodges. The first statue of Cernunnos is found to the northwest of Sunderland, and Sunderland has one of the oldest Freemason lodges in the UK, if not the oldest. The real character of this idol they seemed unable to explain. It was said that the image was made in the likeness of Baphomet, which was said to be a corruption of Muhammad, which was the general Christian name at that period, although others give a Greek derivation for the name. That was probably because Baphomet was first recorded by Herodotus, who wrote in Greek. But still, Herodotus aligns Uz with Baphomet. I believe Baphomet may be the Latin name, because format is the root for format. The way in which something is arranged or set out. Ba, I believe, is Sumerian, referring to hepatoscopy, the reading of the liver omen, as the word Ba means house, liver omen, or model. Its house is a 5-pointed star, very similar to your dwelling. Ba also refers to a shelled creature, or a scraping tool, like a knife or blade. Zu. The figure was often described as possessing a goat's head and horns. That too, the Sabbatic goat, was of Eastern and probably Babylonian origin, is scarcely to be doubted. At the witch orgies in France. No, not Paris 2024. There's always one, isn't there? Although, At the witch orgies in France and elsewhere. I suppose that would be the cockhold. Sorry. One more time. At the orgies in France and elsewhere, those who were afterwards brought to book for their sorceries declared that Satan appeared to them in the shape of a goat, and that they worshipped him in this form. The Sabbatic meetings during the 15th century in the wood of Mophaianes, near Arash, had at their centre a goat demon with a human countenance, and a similar fiend was adored in Germany and in Scotland. From all this, it is clear that the Sabbatic goat must have had some connection with the East. Eliphas Levi drew a picture of the Baphomet, or the Sabbatic goat, to accompany one of his occult works. And strangely enough, the symbols that he adorns it with are Oriental. Moreover, the sun disk figures in the drawing the light of the gods. Now Levi knew nothing of Babylonian mythology, allegedly, although he was moderately versed in the mythology of modern occultism, and it would seem that he drew his information from modern or medieval sources, and that these must have been in direct line from Babylonian lore, and therefore bilingual with Sumerian. Adar, the sun god of Nippur, was in the same manner connected with the pig, which may have been the totem of the city he ruled over, and many other gods had attendant animals or birds, like the sun god Kish, whose symbol was an eagle, and, as previously mentioned, An is cognate with Mash, goat. They are indeed variations of the same creature, originally the brood of Tiamat, those monsters who had composed the host of Tiamat were supposed, after the defeat and destruction of their commandress, to have been hurled like Satan and his angels into the abyss beneath. We read of their confusion in the 4 tablets in the creation epic. This legend seems to be the original source of the belief that those who rebelled against high heaven were thrust into outer darkness. Enuma Elish, when on high. And it is Mash covering the story of Lord Zu. Marduk is not the savior, because he too steals the role of Bel. The punishment for Lord Zu was bird form, and this is why it changed into the goat, the Ba format. In the Book of Enoch, we read of a great abyss, regarding which an angel Malak Mematim, an Anunnaki, said to the prophet, "O my word, this is so Zu, glass, transparent. An Zu or An Sin. Sin, Zu, can mean to consume. It also means blade, obsidian, tooth, or teeth, also meaning wisdom. And here, in the Book of Enoch, it is mentioned that this is a place of the consummation of heaven and earth. Alternatively, this is the place of Anzu." And again, in a later chapter, "These are the stars who have transgressed the command of God, the highest, and are bound till 10,000 worlds, which must mean 10,000 years. The number of the days of their sins shall have consummated," meaning to be consumed, over a 10,000-year period. This is the prison of the angels, and here they are held to eternity. And logically, why Sin, Zu, is the gatekeeper, and also a curse protecting the tablet. 11 great monsters are spoken of by Babylonian myth as comprising the host of Tiawath, the precursor to Tiamat, besides many lesser forms having the heads of men and the body of birds. Remember, these possessing spirits were put to flight. Strangely enough, we find these monsters figuring in a legend concerning an early Babylonian king, which will be the next part here on Ancient Mystery, the invasion of monsters.